gets there.
Hit him right in the head, too.
That collision with you and N'Keal Harry.
That was actually my very last play of my NFL career. That was one of the main reasons why I transitioned full-time into Braintree.
We see it happen all the time in the NFL. You know, that was a really pivotal moment for you.
In the most violent sport in the world, we still couldn't find effectively dosed, banned substance-free products that could help with cognitive health. She couldn't even really complete a full sentence. And then she started taking our brain water product. She was like, hey, can you rewind that? I want to watch that again. And everyone in the room was blown away. Did she just complete a full sentence?
5 years from now, where do you see Braintree Nutrition?
I will have sold it by then.
Let's go, baby. This is another episode of the Athletes and Assets podcast. I'm your host, Noah Lack. Welcome. We bring on your favorite athletes to chat about entrepreneurship. And today we have a guy where I honestly think this guy does not get enough credit for being one of the hardest hitting safeties that's laid some feet on turf. NFL safety Andrew Sendejo, who is now the founder of Braintree Nutrition, making revolutionary dietary supplements to improve brain health. Andrew, man, thanks so much for joining us, man. I know you're in Austin right now. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no doubt. Andrew, man, what we do on here, we skip the small talk. Andrew, how's the wedding plans going, first and foremost? Let's get down to business.
I'm basically done. I finalized one last big ticket item for wedding planning. The rest is kind of very minor details, so it's going smooth.
Okay, good to know, man. Where is it going to be? Is it going to be in Austin or somewhere else?
It's going to be in Houston.
Hey, there we go. H-Town.
Yeah.
H-Town. For the people listening from Houston, are you thinking Memorial Park or is it more Houston Oaks or?
No, we're going to be doing it at a hotel in Houston.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, congrats on that. I had to, make sure we'd had everything settled there. The logistics are important. I know you run the company and doing all this stuff, but if the wedding plans aren't set, there's going to be some hell to pay.
It's kind of like running a second company, essentially. So.
Yeah, no doubt. Andrew, I mean this as a compliment. I think if you were still playing in the NFL today, you would get a shit ton of flags. Do you feel like, let me ask you this. You played in the UFL, right? They had their set of rules. You've seen what the rules are in the NFL today. I guess which rule system are you more aligned with at this point?
I don't even remember what the rules were in the UFL, but I know probably around the 16, 17 mark is when the NFL started to get really strict on a lot of the helmet rules, and they basically changed the game to where they were just throwing a violence foul flag. So if the play just looked violent, even if they couldn't see if you hit the guy in the head or led with your head or whatnot, they're going to throw the flag. And so that's where most of my fines and penalties and suspensions basically came from, the 2017 season on. But the rules are definitely making it harder and harder to be a defensive player.
Did your eyes just take me through your perspective, man? Did your eyes light up when you see that slant route come your way, or that ball's in the air, kind of on that go route on the sideline? Is that a safety's dream to lay some wood? Pause.
Yeah, I always joke that the only reason I had to hit guys so hard is because I wasn't fast enough to get there and just intercept the ball. So that was the next best thing to do. And, if your objective is to not let them catch the ball. So if I can't get there to get a PBU, now I have to hit you hard enough to jar the ball loose. And that happened quite a bit to where it was just the timing of it where they were catching the ball. I happened to be there right after they caught the ball. But, I always felt like it was the quarterback's fault for throwing it into certain coverages that you shouldn't, or throwing it to where there's a guy that is not going to shy away from contact because they know they're going to get the 15-yard penalty. And but yeah, obviously as a safety, the way I grew up, watching guys play, anybody that's coming across the middle or just is kind of out there for the taking, so to speak, you're going to take your opportunity.
I love how you brought up, if you're not fast, you better be strong. And I had a lot of people growing up, playing basketball. I always heard strength negates speed and quickness, right? So if especially if when we talk about change of direction, for basketball, if you can stop them with your body, you don't have to be as fast. But football, obviously, you can't hold them while they're, changing directions on a route. But I like how you brought that up, man. I feel you there. I wasn't the fastest guy in the world.
Yeah, you have to kind of pick like what kind of player am I going to be, and it kind of, I almost looked at it kind of like business, like what's your niche, like what do you do really well, like are you a man-to-man cover guy, are you the smart guy, are you the physical guy? And so early on I kind of realized, okay, what are my strengths as a player? It's I can study really hard, I can memorize plays really well, and I can play physical. I know I'm going to be lined up correctly, do the right thing, do my job, and play very hard. And so I just kind of mastered that niche as like a player, so to speak, and just relied on those and didn't try to be anyone that I wasn't. Like I didn't try to be like some like lockdown corner. I was a lot of times I was in the middle of the field, kind of back there surveying a lot, so didn't really have much of that anyways. I didn't get a ton of blitzes off the edge and whatnot, so my position kind of played perfectly into like my style of play anyways.
Yeah, for sure. Or were you did you ever look up to the Ronnie Lotz, Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, like
Yeah, I think I actually grew up a soccer player, and then I started playing, like if you grew up in South Texas, like you're going to play football at some point. So when I got to high school, football basically took over my life. So I didn't really watch much college NFL ball until I was in college and in the NFL. But I think once I got to the NFL, it was kind of like the guys who were at the top of their game, you would kind of cherry pick things from them, steal techniques, style of play, how they played certain plays. And like obviously Ed Reed as a middle of the field guy, as a downhill guy, was like Bob Sanders, like could come downhill. Guys like that were just kind of all over the place. And I think my sophomore year of college or so, like LaRon Landry was like the top safety, like coming out, and he was just like a big physical specimen, like arms the size of my head. So like you just kind of always like, okay, if that's what the best safety like looks like and plays like, that's what I have to try to do. So that was kind of just a constant series of my life as a player, is like just trying to emulate certain areas that I knew I could with my ability emulate. There's certain things that guys would do, and I had to be realistic with myself and say, there's no way I can do that. So I wouldn't try.
No, 100%. And I love your journey, man. I mean, talk about Rice Owls, man. That's the Harvard of the South, and going to the UFL. And then, finding your niche, man, staying in the league for 12 years. Is there a moment, can you recall one of your most fond, highlights in a game, whether it was a hit, interception, like what's something you're going to tell your grandkids about? Yeah, I was that day, I was that dude.
Yeah, I think you always remember your first actual play, even though I kind of blacked out in the middle of it, because this is how naive I was to kind of just like NFL football. My first year out of the UFL, I was with the Cowboys. My first active game was Sunday Night Football, Cowboys versus Eagles. I didn't even know how big, that game was. And I was only in on kickoff, and I was just the safety on kickoff. So they gave me like the least amount of responsibility. And the duration of a kickoff play is pretty long. This is when you were running from the 30. And so the guy...
And that kickoff for you was a blur.
It was a blur.
Like, oh,
and it was
gosh.
I mean, at least 12 seconds worth of football. And I felt like it went by like that. And I just remember jogging off the field thinking, there's no way I can play in this league. This is way too fast. But you just like anything, you kind of start to become accustomed to the speed. You start to react faster. So that's definitely something that I'll always remember. I just remember like about to go running down on kickoff thinking like, holy shit, like I'm playing in an NFL game right now. The other one as a safety, will always be like your first interception. There was a snow game in 2013. Joe Flacco was just the Super Bowl MVP the year before, so the Ravens were still hot at the time, and got an interception off him. So I felt pretty good about getting an interception, my first interception off of a Super Bowl MVP the year before. And then the Minneapolis Miracle game was obviously insane to be a part of, to like witness all that. So there's a lot of stories. I'm very thankful that I had enough time in the league to build a lot of stories and memories to talk about. But those are always kind of like the top three things that stick out in my mind when I reflect back on it.
And this is like why it feels so naturally that you're doing what you're doing with Braintree Nutrition, which is, you're building a dietary supplement company to help brain health. You guys have a number of different products. But I think to set the stage here, Andrew, I mean, I got to bring it up, right? 2021, December, that collision with you and Nikhil Harry kind of knocked you out cold, man. And what would be your kind of career-ending concussion? I mean, we see it happen all the time in the NFL. It's, we talk about CTE and all these guys, and, that was a really pivotal moment for you.
Yeah, that was actually my very last play of my NFL career. And that was one of the main reasons why I transitioned full-time into Braintree, because we launched Braintree right at the end of my career. So we were just kind of getting it going at that time, because in my 12 years playing in the most violent sport in the world, we still couldn't find effectively dosed, banned substance-free products that could help with cognitive health. And so we said, we need this, our teammates need this, and that's how Braintree even started. And I think that was kind of a full circle moment where my very last play was a really kind of gruesome concussion. And I think everything after that kind of came into line of like, this is what I have to go do now to try to not only help myself, but to help others, to help my mom, to help just, the everyday person, to have better brain health, because your brain health is your mental health in a sense. And I don't know if people necessarily put those two together, because when you're not sleeping well and you can't focus and you can't remember things, where you put your keys, when's my next appointment, you're inflamed, you're stressed, all these things all just start to like compound. And I don't know if people necessarily realize like the brain is the command center. It's where everything starts and ends. And so that's kind of been my main focus since finishing playing, is just working on that, building that, scaling that, and just still grinding away.
It's amazing all the different ways people try to, reactivate or re-energize their brain, Andrew. I think of, when we think of, the first thing that came to my mind when I think of like unlocking the brain and its capabilities is actually like shrooms, ayahuasca. Yeah. You see like these tech founders and Aaron Rodgers doing ayahuasca. I mean, there's like all these different kind of things. It's crazy.
Yeah, the psychedelic kind of journey is beginning for a lot of people. I think to deal with various areas, not always for better necessarily cognitive health. I feel like more for kind of releasing kind of those like underlying demons, so to speak, or kind of like getting things off your chest finally. But we as Braintree haven't like necessarily dabbled into like those areas right now. We really base all of our formulas, all of our ingredients off of human clinical studies that have been proven to be effective, which was kind of the other issue when we started, is a lot of products, they had ingredients, but all the studies were based on rat studies, which is not a human. So that was kind of what we prided ourselves on, and just being transparent with our labels and showing exactly how much of each ingredient is in there, so you know exactly what you're getting, what you're paying for. But yeah, there's definitely kind of this influx of these kind of psychedelic journeys occurring, but have not gone down that path yet.
Yeah, I hear, Andrew, in the whole Silicon Valley world, a lot of these tech founders, to get, renewed light and sense of, where they are and what the purpose is and the mission of building $1 billion company, a lot of these people go on ayahuasca trips. And I've never done ayahuasca. I don't even know like how it works. But I'd be damned if I need to go in the Amazon to get like some enlightenment. I mean, that seems like a commitment, man. I don't want to get like a dart shot in my ass because I'm trying to go get brain enlightenment.
Yeah, it's I guess if you're trying to dream up something that the normal everyday brain can't, maybe you do have to tap into some type of extract that can kind of release these other areas of the brain and tap into different areas of the brain that maybe aren't utilized all the time. So I mean, to me, I feel like, you could take care of, there's probably some other foundational areas that you could probably take care of first before you kind of go to such a drastic measure, in my opinion, and going down that path. Start eating correctly, start sleeping correctly. Those are like actually sleep first, then food. Those will kind of go hand in hand. And exercise. Like if you can start to master those three things, I feel like that would alleviate almost 90% of people's kind of everyday issues, just based on the studies for those three very simple areas alone. And they're kind of boring and they're not sexy, but they work.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Did you take anything when you're in the league for your mental health, or was it just that formula you mentioned?
Yeah, we started taking, so a lot of the ingredients that are in our Braintree products, we were taking them individually. They hadn't really been put together yet. And so we were,
I see.
My co-founder and I, we were always the supplement guys. We both went to Rice together. His mom was our neurologist on our staff to help kind of validate and vet a lot of the studies. And so we were taking a million different pills to try to get all of the kind of brain nutrients that we needed. And so that's when we kind of started to go down this path of like, hey, we need this all in one, or we need this in a line of products that are safe for us to take, safe for our teammates to take, and that are actually effectively dosed. And so that's kind of how that unfolded there.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you can consolidate a bunch of your problems and end up building the product that you're solving for. It's pretty cool, man. So you decided with your co-founder and his mother, right? His mother, right? Was the neurologist?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, hey, let's do this. So is it an LLC or a C corp?
LLC.
LLC. Get it off the ground in Austin. Your lab is in Austin. Like everything is which I really like, because you can actually go and like see the product and live with it and right.
That's everything's all made here in Texas, manufactured in a CGMP, FDA, NSF registered facility. So we're there for every step of the process, from sourcing the ingredients to packaging, labeling, distributing, all that. So we're there for every single step of the process, versus a lot of people are sourcing and getting ingredients from China. It's made in China. They drop ship it to their Amazon fulfillment. They never even see the product. They never get it third party tested. All of our stuff is third party tested. And a lot of people don't know too, is that if you're made in an NSF certified lab, that means there's no banned substances anywhere in the entire facility. So it's essentially like the highest manufacturing practices that you can get for dietary supplements.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Did you like? I always talk about with athletes who are building companies who need to source a manufacturer, like that process. Like I bet you have never in your life ever thought you would be looking at places in China or Austin, warehouses for building, mental health products. Like, talk about that process, man, of actually, like, who is going to make this?
Yeah. So we actually got really lucky that we, through a mutual business partner, he was like, hey, I need to introduce you to this guy. He was a part of Cellucor, like back in the day when they had to, basically go through the phone book and call the GNCs and like talk about their products and whatnot. So, been in the dietary supplement industry for a long time, got on the manufacturing side of it, opened up a manufacturing facility in Bastrop, which is about 40 minutes east of Austin. And
yeah, I've been to You ever been to Lost Pines, by the way?
I have not.
Oh, fire spot, man. Fire,
Okay.
nice little weekend getaway with the fiance.
Is it the Hyatt Lost Pines? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I've seen it on the drive, but went out there. And so not only does it allow you to have all your manufacturing there, basically be on a texting basis with the people on the floor, the packaging, the fulfillment people, but also just as an advisory role for someone that's been in the industry for a long time and has a bunch of connections and things like that. So we basically got very lucky that through a dinner met our manufacturer slash advisor slash kind of anything that we really kind of need for anything Braintree related. So we got really lucky with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For your product, Andrew, is this something where if I'm taking a supplement, a Braintree gummy, or is this something I should be taking with a meal? Is it something I take on its own? What's the best way to use kind of your product?
I would say everyone has their own kind of individual use case, right? But the overall suggestion is to take supplements with food to help you absorb it. But our products are meant to work synergistically together. None of them really combat each other. Obviously, you're not going to take the sleep product in the morning, but for us, our brain water, our electrolyte plus focus product is like a great way to start the day to wash down the nootropic product and the gut health product. And then we have a stress and anxiety adaptogen product that people usually take, in the early afternoon or in the evening, and then they double up and put the sleep product on that and then have a good night's sleep. So they're kind of meant to work all throughout the day. And they kind of work by taking them at different times of the day. But there's nothing that, like I said, they all work synergistically together, something that kind of combats each other.
Yeah, I'm looking at your products, man. You got Think, Restore, Chill, which that caught my eye. I'm like,
yeah,
I could use a little chill in my life, a little stress relief. You got the whole thing, man. I feel like I see in your future either a Shark Tank appearance or you stacking a bunch of these stuff on the Huberman podcast and getting that crew excited about what you're doing.
I actually ran into him in my elevator in Austin, and I just went straight for the kill. And I actually, my opening line was, I was like, "You got everybody looking into the damn sun." This was like 2 years ago, so he's like really big on like morning sunlight. And so I'm just like in the elevator with him. I'm like, "Shit, that's Huberman." I was like, "Man, you got everybody looking into the damn sun," and he just started chuckling. But then I think I confused him because I went to introduce myself and I said, "Andrew." And I think he was like, "Yeah, I'm Andrew." And I was like, no, I'm Andrew. Like, we're both Andrew. And I just
Spider-Man meme. But he didn't get the meme.
No, I don't think he did. And so I just kind of went straight for it. I was like, "Hey, I just retired after 12 years in the NFL. I have a brain health supplement company. Like, how do I sponsor your podcast?" And he was actually really cool. He gave me like not the typical email address that's on the website. He gave me like his Stanford email address, and I sent it. And someone on his team responded, and their wait list for like sponsors is insane. And I don't think we could have afforded. This was like 2 years ago, so it was cheaper. But yeah, I did shoot my shot, so I feel good about that.
Okay. Well, man, I can't wait to get off that wait list. That's crazy.
Yeah.
There's also the Brian Johnson, crew, right? So if that's another angle you could try, check out.
Yeah, no, that guy did a great job of doing a huge kind of like, I call it a PR campaign with his whole anti-aging thing before he released his own products, trying to keep his biological age like as low as possible or reversing it or whatever the hell he was doing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. To be honest, man, I've seen guys older than Brian Johnson that look kind of younger than him. I sort of worry sometimes that, sometimes you got to have like, M&Ms or see the sun.
Yeah, yeah.
This is not bench warmers. You know what I mean? You ever seen the movie Bench Warmers when the guy's like afraid to like get in the sun? I'm like, brother, get a tan. You'll be all right.
Yeah. No, he looks like he's, there's some videos and pictures I've seen. He looks like he's in the movie Twilight. Like he looks like a vampire. And like, I think that's actually his goal is to be a vampire and just live forever.
Yeah. But he doesn't look like he's going to live forever based on his appearance. I mean,
I don't know. Time will tell.
Time will tell. Time will tell. If maybe if he gets one of your longevity stack, he'll actually accomplish that feat.
Maybe he can add it in there, or he'll probably try to copy it.
That is true. You do have to worry about that. I had Andrew, Brandon Chubb recently on the pod, who was in the NFL for a couple years, and he has a health and wellness, a restorative studio. He has a health and wellness studio called Do Not Disturb, And basically you go in a contrast suite, sauna, cold plunge, your own suite. It's kind of like a membership thing where, he recently opened up in the Atlanta area. And this is important that I'm saying he opened up in the Atlanta area because traditionally this sort of physical health stuff has been on the coastal cities. Like it started in LA kind of, right? And the Deep South actually hasn't been that introduced to sauna, cold plunge, like, right? We get lost in the digital world, and Huberman and Brian Johnson are here, right, in the Bay Area, where people, are, obsessed over longevity, wellness, biohacks. I think for you, like building it in Austin, obviously Austin's a more progressive city, right? So you probably get some of these archetypes who will try your product. But have you seen a difference in attitude of using this stuff in the Deep South versus, the more coastal geographies where they're sort of more open to trying, brain supplement stuff?
Yeah, I would say it's more of like an educational thing of, it's not that they don't like it. It's just that they really haven't been introduced to it or don't necessarily know enough about it. And that's really just the biggest barrier for those types of areas is just maybe not necessarily laying down all the science right away, but just kind of getting right to the point of like, this is going to help you focus better. It's going to help you feel better. It's going to help you sleep better. Leave it at that. Like, like kind of just the highlights. But yeah, it's here in Austin. This is a very active city, it's a very healthy city. It's starting to get a little bit more kind of California vibes, so to speak.
That's not a good, I know, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, so, people here are very receptive to it and are excited about it for sure.
Let's talk about that, man. Do we recognize Austin anymore, man? What's the deal over there?
Yeah, I still do. There's little pockets that are still very Austin. There's other pockets that I feel like I'm not in Austin. It's just hard because there's so many buildings getting put up, so many skyscrapers, so many cranes. It's just like one big construction zone, the whole thing. And shoot, in like 15 years, it'll be completely different then. I know during my time while I was playing, every off season when I would come back to Austin, there'd be another new high rise. And every year I come back and there's more and more buildings, more and more people. So it's lost a little bit of its kind of weird charm, I guess. But there's still definitely some areas that are very, very Austin. And I think a lot of the people that are from here have been here for a while, trying to really like hold on to that and keep the city the way it's been. But it's just hard to kind of keep up with the amount of change that's occurring all around them.
For sure. Did you ever train at the Collective?
Yes.
New? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Devin Devin runs it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway from Austin, not my biggest takeaway, actually not say that, but one of my takeaways from Austin, Andrew, was it was rare for me to see someone without a tattoo.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really think about that.
I thought that was interesting. Austin's kind of what I thought San Francisco would be when I moved to San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And obviously San Francisco has its issues, but it's very super, super interesting.
Yeah, I would say Austin's very, very laid back. When I go to Dallas or Houston, if I go out to dinner or go to like a brunch or something, there's definitely just even the style of clothing is much different. Austin is very laid back. You can go into a steakhouse with shorts and t-shirt on and they don't say anything, versus Dallas or Houston. There's a lot of people dressed up, a lot more strict on dress code at different venues and things like that. So I kind of look around and I realize like, okay, this is definitely not Austin.
Yeah, no, for sure. The consumer space that you're in, Andrew, I feel like with CPG, right? And you invest in this as well with Fourth and One, right? So you see the industry in multiple pockets, but with consumer products, man, it's like, how do you get through the noise? Like, how do you with this world of supplements? How does Braintree Nutrition stand out? I think you have an advantage being an athlete, a former athlete, because whether it's yourself, your story, but also your network of NFL guys who could use this, or athletes who also have influence within sort of the supplement space. Let's talk a little marketing, man. Like, how do you see, people getting, how have you thought about that?
Yeah, I think getting through the noise is being consistent, and just being like mentally tough, first of all, to like ride the wave and to not, let doubts creep in and things like that. But I think a lot of it is just kind of the story. And I feel like a lot of people, they relate with the story. They understand the story. They get the transition of why we got into this and how it's needed, and how a lot more people are focusing on the brain health sector. Anxiety rates, mental health rates are all, going up at an all-time high with just the way the world is now. And so I think a lot of people are starting to realize it's something that they should be more proactive with versus reactive. And actually, we're very thankful that there's a lot of these kind of science-based kind of podcasters that are bringing a lot of this information to light and bringing a lot of these ingredients that we use to light and the science behind them and how they work. It's almost like free marketing for us, essentially.
Yeah, it's great. I'm so glad you mentioned that. It's like you have your distribution partners that, are third-party media content outlets that are actually helping you.
Yes. And so it's funny because right when we kind of started this and we had our first product, Think, we used several ingredients on there that have, they have their own human clinical study on these ingredients to help with age-related mental impairment, ADHD symptoms, focus, memory, etc. And it was almost like people didn't really believe it, even if you had the entire study. And then here comes Mr. Dr. Andrew Huberman, and he's talking about alpha GPC, phosphatidylserine, like all these ingredients are used, and they're like, oh, wait, you use this ingredient in your product? Like, yeah, I saw this on Huberman, like that it does this. And I'm like, yeah, we've had this in our product for like over 2 years now. Like it's almost like they didn't believe it until like someone like that of influence kind of really said it, even though.
Isn't it crazy how that works?
It is really crazy. And so there's, so you kind of piggyback off of some of that, but we're always very science backed, and like, these are products that obviously I take, I've been able to help improve my own brain health after 12 years of getting hit in the head. I give these to my mom. We have tons of testimonials and reviews of people talking about the benefits they've received from taking these products. And so we'll always rely on the science that we know we can sleep at night knowing that like we are giving people the most effective products that we can based on the science. And we basically won't even put an ingredient in there unless there's a human clinical study to support it. Because as a business owner, we have new ingredient companies all the time that want you as Braintree to use their brand new, sexy ingredient. And the first thing I'll ask is, well, send me over the human clinical study on it. And if they don't have it, then I don't even use it. This is because there's no point. I don't want to trick you. Like we said, the original part of this was for ourselves and our teammates. And so if we're making it for us and our teammates and our family, we're obviously going to make it at the highest quality that we can because we need it to work.
For sure. Do you have a badass customer testimonial you can share for Braintree? There was just one today that I just saw, but it was literally like 2 paragraphs long. So I can't even remember it, but it went through this person literally went through their entire journey of Braintree they started with one of the products. They've had some TBIs and whatnot. Obviously, cognitive health was really high on their priority list, and they started. Here on A&A, we ask, what's your welcome to entrepreneurship moment? When was that moment for you, building Braintree, when you're like, oh, like this is real. This founder stuff is no joke.
Yeah, I think it happens almost every week where there's just things that you're like, yeah, this is a grind. This is why most businesses fail. It's expensive. It's time consuming. It's just like anything, like you have to go all in on it. Otherwise it's not going to work. But there's always new there's always going to be new things that are coming up that you have to solve. And as kind of like the head coach, the leader, the captain of the team, so to speak, everything ultimately falls on you. So even if it wasn't you directly, it's someone that you hired that did it. So that's still kind of on you. Just like a head coach would say, like, hey, I got to coach better. I got to put the guys in position better. There's so many things that translate over to business that that I've seen through my time, and it's just like anything, is a learning experience. Like going from playing football for 12 years and just being in that world to straight into entrepreneurship and trying to launch and scale your own company in kind of a world that you haven't even been in. You're basically learning on the fly, making mistakes, correcting those mistakes, just like in a football game or any sport, and then moving on. Not being sensitive, kind of having a short memory, so to speak, of like, okay, that's over now. I've got to move on to the next thing. Setting goals, and trying to push yourself every day, and just be like accountable to yourself, your company, the people that are working for you, because even though they might not be like full-time employees of Braintree, they do make money off of you. And so essentially, if you tank and you fold, then that is going to affect their life as well. So like a lot of times I feel like you might selfishly look at it as like, oh, well, like this company, maybe if something didn't go well, like it's only affecting me, but it's actually affecting a lot of other people as well. And especially if there's people that are in love with your products or whatnot, and if you have to discontinue them, that's going to affect their lives. But yeah, there's learning experiences literally every week.
You got a specific example you could share? Any specific story?
I mean, I think just in general is, I think early on, I would say we were at times probably too nice, maybe a little, I don't know if gullible is the right word, but like we didn't necessarily know enough in order to like vet certain people and to like fact check them and like know what they were saying was actually going to come to fruition. Like working with different marketing companies that, apparently have connections to get you into certain retailers and things like that. And that all sounds really sweet right away. So things like that. Now, when you get those calls, the first thing I say is bullshit and like prove it. And like, who have you worked? Like you go through the whole deal, right? Cause you've kind of been through that process. The other one is just, you have all your different kind of vendors of people that work with you and for you, is always making sure you have someone to kind of keep them accountable or to like fact check them or whatnot, because you might not know every single one of those kind of areas. And so you have to have someone who's also an expert to go look at what they're doing and be like, yeah, they're not doing this correctly or whatnot. So that's also part of this, is like I try to learn every single part of the business to where I can go when I need to check in on stuff and say like, hey, like this isn't right. We're not hitting the numbers that we need to. Like, this is doing really well. This is not doing really well. And if you don't have the knowledge, so you can't do that. And so that was probably early on a lot of issues, is like just learning what the standards were.
So you had a marketing agency say, hey, I will put your stuff in Walmart. You had a marketing. You basically had a marketing agency say, "Hey, we'll put your stuff in Walmart," and then instead, you got in the back of a Buc-ee shelf in your bastrop.
They literally said Walmart. Actually, they're like, "Yeah, we have connections with Walmart or whatever," and different things like that. But knowing what I know now, obviously, like I would have heard that and say like, "There's no way. Like you can't. Some brand new company, you're not just gonna go right into Walmart. That's impossible." So like, that's just part of. It's just like in football, man. Like you go through as a rookie and you get your ass kicked for a year, and then you kind of learn the game speed, you learn the lingo, you learn like everything you need to. And then when you go into your second year, you're, much, much better.
We've seen a couple guys go on to Shark Tank. Justin Forsett, the Gronkowski brothers. Is that something that you guys have ever laid your eyes on? And maybe you're an LLC, right? So maybe you haven't taken investment, or is something you haven't. Maybe it's on your roadmap. I didn't ask beforehand, but what do you think about that?
No, I'm actually not interested in taking anybody's money at all. So to me, I'd rather do it at my own pace, with our money, and grow it correctly, versus I think a lot of brands aren't necessarily in that position. They want to grow really fast, but they don't grow correctly, or they grow too fast. I don't know. I feel like I've seen a lot of mistakes. Luckily I'm at a position where I don't necessarily have to like grow this in 1 year and start making a bunch of money off of it, you know? So, I'm thankful for that I can go at my own pace and learn along the way while I'm doing that.
Bootstrap companies for the win, man. Salute to
Yeah.
you, and
Yeah.
I appreciate you doing that. 5 years from now, where do you see Braintree Nutrition?
Probably will have sold it by then.
Hey, that's what we do on here. We manifest it. I like that. I like that.
So, and that's kind of tying in a little bit of like the 4th and 1 is like, would love to later on in life just kind of have my own fund, and continue to kind of do some stuff that we're doing with 4th and 1 and working with athletes and different things like that. So it's been cool to be kind of on both sides of like the venture capital space, like in the CPG, and then also having my own CPG brand, is because a lot of the companies we're talking to, they're much, much further in their life cycle than Braintree is. And I get to have direct access to the CEOs and founders that are crushing it right now. And I get to ask them and it basically lays out a roadmap for Braintree. And so I'm like, hey, how did you deal with this retailer or this distributor? Or like, where did you get this packaging done? Like, let me borrow a graphic designer real quick for this one thing, or like just anything, and so they're always super helpful. I literally have their cell phone. I can text them, call them. They're very responsive. And so that's also been, almost having kind of these like free consultant advisors on the side that are running their own companies that will jump on a call anytime with you. It's super cool.
That's pretty badass. Yeah, and for context for folks that don't know, and we'll certainly jump into it in more episodes. But the 4th and 1 Ventures, basically athlete-backed syndicate, mostly NFL players investing in some of the top consumer brands around the Series A and beyond level. And Andrew, you're a co-founder of that, and I'm excited to maybe we should have another pod where we get really deeper into the 4th and 1 situation, because that's a whole pod in itself.
Yeah, it is, and that's been super fun. And again, like learning a bunch of just learning a lot. In your post career, you kind of have to be able to like humble yourself and realize like you're starting back over at like the rookie level again, and like you're not just going to go right into being like an elite 1%er of business or venture capital or whatever it is. You have to kind of be able to swallow that pill of like, okay, like I'm okay with realizing that like I don't know everything. I have to learn. I have to ask questions. I might look stupid at times. I don't care. Just like when you're a rookie, like you have to go up to the coach or to the veteran guys and be like, hey, like what does this play mean? And they're probably laughing like, how do you not know what that means? But it's part of the learning curve.
No, absolutely, and I'm excited to see where that goes as well. And salute to you starting Braintree, man. Like, talk about founder market fit, a guy who's kind of lived through it and wants to help other people. And I think also in being an advantage of an NFL athlete or an elite athlete is like, if it works for you, I think it could work for the common person, in a sense. So really appreciate you, Andrew. This has been another great episode of the Athletes and Assets podcast. I've been your host, Noah Lack. Please hit that like, smash that subscribe button. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us, man. This is a blast.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
No doubt.